Hello and thanks for joining us today for the news at noon. I'm Mackailyn Johnson. Here's a look at the stories we're following today. Temperatures are skyrocketing. Just ahead, we have advice from energy companies on what you should do.
It's the disturbing reality our students are facing. I'm Michael George at a class where middle schoolers are learning how to spot potential school shooters.
Plus, Fisher-Price has issued a PR warning for parents of infants. What you need to know just a minute away. But first, meteorologist Scott Covert, you're here with us, telling us what we know. It's hot out there.
Everyone knows it. It's what everyone's talking about. It's the heat, and I'm afraid to tell you, not only do we not see any meaningful relief anytime soon, it actually gets even hotter next week. Here's where we're at right now. This is your feels like temperatures or the heat index. Feels like 95 right now in the capital city, up to 99 in Searcy. It feels like 96 in Batesville, 93 currently in Arkadelphia. Expect that to rise a few more degrees over the next few hours. We'll spend most of the afternoon in that triple-digit heat index range. Finally cooling off by this evening after sunset. The actual high today only makes it to 95 under a mostly sunny sky. Despite all that sunshine, it looks a bit hazy out there. Coming up here in a few minutes, I'll tell you why that haze is in the sky, as well as how hot it's going to get next week. Those details and more coming right up.
Thanks, Scott. And extreme heat is where we start this half hour, as power providers in the state are warning the power grid will be pushed to its peak later today. This morning, you probably woke up to a text message on your phone from Energy Arkansas warning there will be a peak event today from 3 to 7 p.m. The power provider is voluntarily asking customers to reduce their electricity usage. Now, a peak event does not necessarily mean blackouts, but it does mean people should conserve power to prevent it. Now, I want to show you another warning from MISO, the organization that manages the power grid for Arkansas and several other states. On its website, it's issued a capacity advisory across its entire grid today because of the extreme heat in so many states. It has a power prediction chart which shows maximum load should hit around 4 to 5 p.m. at 120,000 megawatts. Basically, all we need to know is that line doesn't need to reach the top of the chart. So what are some things you can do to conserve electricity today? Energy Arkansas has a few steps to save electricity and lower your bill. You should unplug electronic devices and turn off lights you're not using. Close window blinds and curtains. Hold off on doing laundry and running your dishwasher until later tonight. Use ceiling fans to circulate air, but remember, they cool people, not the air, so turn them off when you're away and raise the thermostat to 78 degrees or your highest comfortable temperature.
Every degree that you have it colder is going to make your unit run harder and make your electric bill higher. So you can offset some of that 78 degree temperature that you set your thermostat at.
We have a full list of ways you can save this summer on our website, thv-at-noon.com. Developing at noon, John Hinckley Jr., the man who attempted to assassinate President Ronald Reagan in 1981, has been granted unconditional release from court, appointed psychiatric supervision. Skylar Henry has more.
It's been more than 40 years since President Ronald Reagan was shot and nearly killed as he left a conference at the Washington Hilton. Today, the man who pulled the trigger, John Hinckley Jr., is free from court-ordered psychiatric supervision.
He's no longer mentally ill. He's no longer dangerous.
Hinckley's defense team and federal prosecutors had reached an agreement on the release if certain conditions were met, arguing the now 67-year-old is no longer a risk to others. The D.C. federal judge who signed off earlier this month said the decision didn't come lightly. Hinckley spent more than 2 decades in a mental institution following the shooting. He critically wounded President Reagan's press secretary, James Brady, who became partially paralyzed. Brady was a fierce anti-gun violence advocate until his 2014 death, ruled a homicide due to his injuries.
That was a horrific incident of violence that fundamentally spurred incredible action.
The Reagan Foundation previously issued a statement opposing Hinckley's release and accusing him of using his infamy for profit. For the past few years, Hinckley has been living under federal supervision in Virginia, where he paints and performs music. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Hinckley's defense team says he wishes he could undo his actions, while prosecutors have wished him the best, calling the outcome a testament to the value of proper mental care. And this afternoon, we know when the Arkansas man arrested near an Idaho Pride event will appear in court. 22-year-old Devin Center of Fayetteville is scheduled to go before a judge in Idaho 2 months from today on August 15th. We first told you this week Center is one of 31 men arrested after police say they planned a riot. Police believe Center traveled to Idaho as part of the white supremacy group called the Patriot Front. Center is charged with conspiracy to riot. The 31 suspected members were arrested after they were packed in the back of a U-Haul van headed to the Pride event in northern Idaho. Police in North Little Rock are investigating a homicide after a man has died after a shooting. Officers responded to a home on Hillside Drive just before 6 last night. They found 30-year-old Keith Waller shot at least once. Police haven't identified a suspect and are asking anyone with information to come forward. In Little Rock, a murder suspect remains a wanted man. Police are searching for Isaiah Smith. They say he shot a pregnant woman last week. She survived, but her 2 unborn children did not. Smith is wanted for 2 counts of first-degree murder and battery. Happening today, the latest public meeting ahead of a Little Rock special election. On August 9th, voters will decide whether to renew part of the property tax rate to pay for capital improvements like streets and drainage. A public meeting to give feedback on the plan starts at 6 this evening at Trinity Presbyterian Church at Henson and Rawling Roads in West Little Rock. Across the river in North Little Rock, it looks like the Arkansas Travelers aren't going anywhere anytime soon. The city of North Little Rock reached an agreement with the Travs and will pay for some needed improvements at Dickey Stevens Park. City council members approved $700,000 toward a new field that was damaged by flooding. An additional $800,000 will help prevent sinkholes that have plagued Dickey Stevens since it opened in 2007. The Federal Reserve is meeting today to discuss raising interest rates. The expected move is being made to combat inflation, which is at a 40-year high. Skylar Henry has more details from the White House.
Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is expected to announce an increase in interest rates this afternoon. Higher interest rates make it more expensive to borrow money. That, in turn, means many people will eventually spend less. That leads to a drop in demand for goods, which should lower inflation. But the Fed has to proceed cautiously.
If they raise rates by too much or too quickly, they run the risk of slowing things down so much that we tip into a recession.
In Philadelphia Tuesday, the president acknowledged the impact inflation has had on Americans, with the average U.S. family spending nearly $350 more per month to buy the same amount of goods they bought last year.
Inflation. It's sapping the strength of a lot of families.
Inflation is also sapping the president's poll numbers, something Republicans are quick to pounce on in this election year.
We hit a few new records this last week. Of course, inflation is at another 40-year high. And we had another record with gas prices hitting $5 a gallon.
This morning, President Biden sent these letters to American oil refineries, urging them to produce more gas and questioning their record profits.
In March, the price per barrel of oil was about $120 per barrel, like it is today. But in March, we were paying $4.25 per gallon of gasoline. Today, we're paying over $5. So there's a 75-cent increase. What is going on there?
In addition to increased domestic production, the U.S. is calling on global manufacturers to increase production as well. The U.S. is the world leader in oil and gas production, with Saudi Arabia second. The White House has announced President Biden will travel to Saudi Arabia next month. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Every 0.25% increase in the Fed's benchmark interest rate translates to an extra $25 a year in interest on $10,000 in debt. So a 0.75% increase would mean an extra $75 of interest for every $10,000 in debt. The House committee investigating the January 6th attack at the Capitol will not meet today as planned. Today's hearing is postponed. One House member told reporters the staff needs more time putting together the videos. The next hearing, now the third of 7 planned, is scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. It will focus on former President Trump's efforts to pressure his vice president to not certify the election results. U.S. representatives are approving a bill designed to boost security for U.S. Supreme Court justices and their immediate families this afternoon. Senate Republicans introduced the bill following a leaked draft opinion on a Mississippi abortion case that suggested the court may be poised to overturn Roe v. Wade. Calls to pass the bill intensified last week after a man called police to say he was near Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's home with thoughts of killing him. A disturbing reality our students are facing will take you to a class where middle schoolers are learning how to spot potential school shooters.
Here's a live look off towards the west from downtown Little Rock. We have lots of sunshine out there, but you notice that haze in the sky. Coming up, I'm going to tell you why that is. We'll also talk about the temperatures and this heat wave. Unfortunately, we do get a bit of a break this weekend, but then it gets much hotter. Some folks could make a run for the triple digits. Your full forecast is coming up when we return.